Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jose Levy. Jose will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of Agile Portfolio Management, maximizing value in an ever-changing environment. This webinar is a new addition to our series of Agile Portfolio Management videos, so if you enjoy this webinar, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jose.
Thank you, Robert, and thank everyone for joining us today. Our topic is Agile Portfolio Management, maximizing value in a changing environment. We're going to review some topics we presented today more in an updated fashion based on industry trends and what we're seeing with our customers. So without further ado, for those of you that do not know of OnePlan, we are the market leader in the Microsoft ecosystem for portfolio management. As you can see by our Partner of the Year awards, we influence and implement portfolio management in the largest amount of enterprise accounts for Microsoft, and that speaks to our experience and the value of our solution. Our main goals are always to achieve business agility to maximize value. So leadership teams are always seeking, the magic button that they can press in order to allow strategy to be delivered and the business to be more agile. So, how can we get there if, it's a very, very difficult to actually undertake increasing business agility. So we're going to talk about how Agile actually can help us do that. And most organizations are already doing Agile. They might not be doing it well. They might not be doing it wholeheartedly or following better practices. And I think that's really what it's all about. How can we improve our Agile practices to maximize value? So I'll take us back about 10 years. And, this is a concept that has been around for some time from John Kotter, which speaks about a dual operating system that's needed. And I think it's really important because it speaks to the difficulty in changing an organization. We operate in hierarchies. We operate based on, processes that are not necessarily, not all of them internally, they're not all driven by customer value. So the concept of a dual operating system is really that we have to reorganize the way we work in terms of networks and really outwardly face towards the customer. So really breaking down the hierarchy that does not allow us to execute with speed and with agility. So it's an important concept because it kind of goes to the heart of the challenge in changing an organization that is, hierarchical and very structured. So let's take that further. If we look at the hype cycle for strategic portfolio management for 2022, so this is the last one that was issued in July. It's interesting that, survey data from customers for Gartner shows that Agile and Adaptive dominate the hype cycle. So this shows the aspiration of organizations to move in this direction, to actually drive business agility by implementing more Agile practices. On the top, we have lean portfolio management, which is, in our opinion, a better practice for trying to connect leadership and Agile delivery teams. But you can see that there's others, Agile beyond IT, product-centric, going from projects to products, Agile project management, adaptive portfolio governance, and then adaptive program management and enterprise Agile framework. So again, what it's highlighting is, leading organizations seeking to deliver on strategy, deliver value by adopting these different ways and new ways of working using Agile. Another survey that recently came out shows an investment roadmap for strategic portfolio management. And we've done a number of different webinars on the definition of strategic portfolio management, so I don't really want to go into that too much. But the point of this slide is, again, to highlight how lean portfolio management and enterprise agile frameworks are, significant in size in this target chart, and which highlight their importance, and also the willingness of organizations to be doing this in the near time frame. And this is showing a 2023 deployment time frame for both of those frameworks. So again, highlighting leading organizations seeking to drive business agility to deliver greater value. And these are the tools that are frameworks that are being used together with tools that we'll talk about in a second. So we've used this for some time. I actually created this back in 2019. I was looking at the origin of it, and at that time what we were saying was that really the approach was to evolve and enter into this agile transformation journey, where you would go from traditional waterfall methods and traditional project portfolio management to first an adaptive state, and then finally to an agile portfolio management state. And I think it's safe to say that I would say 90% of organizations that we speak to are already in the center. In other words, there's some agile and waterfall that need to be combined in analysis and intake. And you have to speak both languages. You have to speak, the traditional methods with agile methods, and that means also evolving your governance and your tools. We have organizations also that we speak to that have gone all the way, have shifted all the way to the left, and have adopted one of the frameworks and are fully operational in at least in theory in agile methods throughout their work. And there's different frameworks. The predominant one is SAFe, but organizations can adopt as they see fit in order to get to that agile portfolio state. So as I said, I think we're moving more and more to the left, and even beyond adaptive into fully agile. And I also have shown this before. Basically, from a planning hierarchy standpoint, how these frameworks or these approaches land from a planning state. The traditional, we're talking only about projects. You might have some epics. You've started here. We start seeing epics being part of programs for organizations that need to manage multiple methods simultaneously. We do have the ability to stack, if you will, the framework. So there's a lot of flexibility in OnePlan. That's another thing we want to communicate. But really where we want to end up is, and I think that's what's happening now, we're more to the right, where we're looking at including within the portfolio hierarchy epics and features, or projects and deliverables, and I'll show that in a second. Project milestones, depending on how you are, how far you have gone. And this on the very left here represents what would be a safe lean portfolio management representation. So where we're coming out is really that most organizations are now moving to an agile portfolio management approach, and what that would mean is that you actually have now projects and epics, and you're involving features. You're including features because you will be prioritizing features primarily, as well as deliverables from projects. So, and yes, we can get into some debate of whether projects and epics are, the same magnitude, the same type of initiative. But for argument's sake, and for the purpose of actually trying to harmonize frameworks, we are going to assume that projects or epics are at the same level, and really we're really dealing with features or deliverables that we have to that create value. And if you've gone all the way, again, shifted all the way to the left, then you can see that projects don't exist. And what we're talking about is, purely epics and features within value streams. I don't want to lose sight that, all this is in the context of strategic portfolio management. So here's a picture of, that tries to depict what we have within OnePlan in our visualizer that tries to connect all the associations between the three disciplines of strategic portfolio management. And I call it here business outcome management, because that's really what we're trying to do. Can we try to figure out a way to scale in order to achieve the business outcomes that we're looking for? And you have strategic execution, which is where we define our OKRs or whatever framework for strategy you want, because if you want to use OGSM, if you want to use BSC, it's perfectly fine. It is your representation of what you want to achieve from a strategy standpoint and the metrics associated with it. You're going to do that by actually having a portfolio of initiatives, which is usually managed by an EPMO. In the context of enterprise agile, yes, there's other other governance modules, framework that you can include, Lean Agile Center of Excellence, Agile Program Management Office, but essentially we're talking about managing the delivery in whatever way you want of those initiatives, and how those outcomes impact the key results that are going to drive to our objectives. But also, these initiatives include technology and include impacts to our enterprise architecture, and that's why you also have to have a connection to that and associations, and that's where enterprise architecture and the IT investment portfolio analysis comes in. So this represents really the three scenarios of portfolio management. It doesn't go away even if you go into Agile Portfolio Management. So just keep that in mind also, because what we're doing is scaling our Agile practices and going into Lean Portfolio Management, but you're still trying to affect strategic portfolio management. And I made mention of this, and I'm just going to highlight it. There's multiple Agile scaling frameworks. There's principles and practices, and it's based on preferences by practitioners, preferences by leadership, experience, what they've experienced before. So the point is that, whatever works best for your organization based on, again, all those different factors is perfectly fine. What we're trying to do, again, is figure out a way of delivering in an agile fashion in a way that will work within your organization. I've mentioned Lean Portfolio Management because we do have a Lean Portfolio Management practice, both in advisory and the way that we deliver OnePlan. But again, if you're doing it in a different way, the solution can actually accommodate that, because that's really what OnePlan is all about. We have a set of features that can accommodate Agile Portfolio Management. So starting with our portfolio plan, which you'll see in our boards that can deliver Kanban for planning epics and features, moving the flow of features through your program increments, to the way that we have our agile plans within our work plan. It also has a scheduling engine if you want to do waterfall work. Around those two big pillars, we have resource planning and financial planning. You can create both of those around epics, around features, around programs, and really about any plan type, which is the hierarchy that I mentioned earlier. There's other areas that cover ideation, that cover OKRs, and they're really important because at the portfolio level, that's what management wants to see. That's what senior leadership wants to see. That's what senior leadership needs to answer to the board or to shareholders. So that's why the portfolio component is important to represent, that's how that strategy evolves. Bottom up, what we have is delivery and the connection to our agile planning tools. So that's an important component. That's really what we're trying to do. Along these two arrows, if you can think, there's stakeholders coming down and then meeting up, from the delivery teams to the product owners to scrum masters, to the business owner that are coming down from the portfolio level. So whatever framework you're using, the OnePlan feature set can accommodate tying that strategy to execution. So our Agile portfolio management approach, then, as I've said, we use our feature set to then reflect whatever framework you're using. Again, here for our preference is to go with lean portfolio management, in which you're going to track your OKRs, measure business outcomes. You're going to associate that to strategic investments using an Agile portfolio management framework. The strength of our resource and financial plans for initiatives, give you the picture again, trying to tie that dual operating system of the network with the hierarchy, because we have to deal with resources and financials that are translated to dollars for that a hierarchical view in finance and HR. And then finally, we leverage all the insights brought into the tool, because we have connectors to Agile planning tools and any other tool that you want, in order to understand, the status of work and the progress of our epics, features, and OKRs. I mentioned our integration platform. It's really important because it really it is an essential part of having a complete solution. And you're talking about Agile portfolio management, you will be bringing in the work from the Agile planning tool, but it's not the only integration that's required. You will need to have, HR and financials for actuals probably at some point. If you're triggering intake from any other solution, that can also occur and be brought into OnePlan in order to drive the life cycle of a plan. And again, if you're doing ideation anywhere else or work management anywhere else, we can incorporate that work directly into OnePlan also. Before I go to the demo, I want to highlight that all of this starts with a business strategy conversation, and I really emphasize this with customers, because enterprise agile transformations, it's a long-term journey. You really have to think beyond 3, 6 months, 9 months, and it evolves through the organization. So you really need to sit down, assess what's the best approach for actually undertaking it, and what is the best approach that will work within the organization, given that it's a fairly important and sizable change initiative. You're changing the way that you're working, you're changing the way that you will be evaluating the delivery of strategy. So it's important to, before we actually start making changes, implementing process, people, and technology, we sit down and we actually derive the roadmap of how we're going to actually implement, and we end up with an exact definition of how we're going to realize a solution within your organization. This is a lot of discussions, a lot of consensus, driving consensus within the organization. That's done within our advisory services for lean portfolio management and enterprise agile. So it's probably the most advisable first step, just to take some time and do this planning before we actually begin. All right, I'm going to go now do a demonstration. So I'm going to be showing a couple of different configurations, or what we call groups of OnePlan, to reflect that Agile portfolio management approach. And the one way to highlight or see the difference is, if you recall the slide that actually had the planning hierarchy. Our plan types are shown here. This is OnePlan portfolio, by the way. Before I begin, on the left we have our what we call our areas. the portfolio plan is OnePlan portfolio, and you can see here, all the different views, all the board views, roadmap views, dashboard, and we have a control bar in the center. We have some pre-filters also that you can use in order to select the data that you want. But the point I wanted to make earlier is here is where we have what we call our Agile Portfolio Management template. This is actually available right now if you want to use it. And you can see here that in this case, what I've done is selected only epics. But the way that this deconstructs, we have portfolio, program, project and deliverables, epics, and features. So I think the big difference is that we're really focusing on features and deliverables in order for us to prioritize, and in this case we're harmonizing. So you can bring both together if you want in order to prioritize. So here I could start at the very top, by the way, in portfolio, and you can see as I continue to deconstruct, I go from portfolio to program to epic to feature. Here we have a project and a deliverable. So I'm here in a state where I'm not yet 100% shift left, which is the second site that I want to show, and I will go here. This is our second group, and I will go to my summary. And what I want to highlight here is that we are pretty much 100%. We still have projects and deliverables, but here we actually have value streams. So in SAFE, the value stream is where you manage the epics. So we've inserted value streams. So here we're more towards all the way shift left. We still include project and deliverables here, but the concept of a value stream now is prominent. And in both, you can see that we have work being completed in the different Agile planning tools, and that's where our integrations come in. And we even have some projects that are within Project for the Web for Microsoft. So it doesn't really matter which Agile planning tool, our integration platform can bring it in. Let's go back to our template because that's the one that right now is available, and you can download and test if you want. So major differences. We have included enterprise architecture, again, to deliver on the promise of strategic portfolio management. You don't have to use it, but the template does include it. And really what it allows us is to, in this case, we have some enterprise architecture elements. These can be integrated from your enterprise architecture repository. If you don't have one, we can provide one. And then they are integrated into OnePlan in order for us to facilitate seeing all the connections between different elements in your portfolio. So here we have, as you can see, applications, capabilities, products, value streams. So there's an area for that. I'll come back to resource plan in a second. The other important one is we do have defined teams. And each team, by the way, we have plan detail pages for every one of the plan types that you see here. In this case, whatever information you want to represent the team can be shown here. The team also has team members, and we'll get to that in a second because they're represented within the resource plan. So teams are important. In order to drive PI planning, we created program increments. So here you can define them, as part of your planning process. And you can see here that we've gone through and done this for 2023 through 2023, and that's how we're working. And if you go into each one, it also has a detailed page and associated initiatives, which would be our features that we're going to be delivering. When we get to the resource plan, I just want to show this. I will come back to this, but in terms of actually seeing the workload by team, because we have those teams defined, you can see here that when I open up a team, I see the team members. I can include generics also in team members. In this case, because we're working in resource plan hours, we can see the work that's being brought in from the actual resource load of the features, and even we're getting down to stories that are being brought into OnePlan, into the OnePlan work plan. So all of this is actually coming from the Agile planning tool, and it's being loaded into OnePlan for you to see the resource load uh, for all the different teams. You could also see it by role, so it's not the only way of actually seeing it. So and or business unit. It really depends, what you're how you're looking to segment your resource data. But more importantly, over allocations are seen because we have clearly assigned work, defined work for folks that exceeds their capacity. And in Agile, that's something that you're not supposed to do because we have defined capacity and we just don't throw work over the wall to our teams. So this is something that in this particular data set, shows that we have issues. Uh, uh, we have here ideation. This is standard in our strategic portfolio management template. So it's included within our Agile Portfolio Management. There is a portal also that's available if you want everyone in the organization to submit ideas. The ideas run through a life cycle, can have their own business case. This can represent the first first step into getting into an ideation funnel within Enterprise Agile. So this can be the way that you go about going through, getting an idea, vet it, and then reorganizing it or placing it within your execution portfolio. If this is going to be an epic or it's going to be a feature, I can go ahead and do that. So that's how you would go about converting it. You could have a workflow here also automating it. I think most important is that you have your if it's an epic, if it's going to be an epic, you have your epic hypothesis that you can be building into the form, and prioritization, whether you're using WSGIF or any other method of prioritizing. So then you can go ahead and make your approval and get it into OnePlan. So from here, the idea would make it into our execution portfolio. And then we can go into, here we're in an alignment view, but we could go into a prioritization view and see what our WSGIF values are from that epic hypothesis, and go through and prioritize. I'll go into our modeler in a few minutes just to talk about how we can do prioritization there with more powerful tools. But here from I'm in portfolio, I can do prioritization. As you can see, I can do alignment views, compliance, basically the data set that I'm capturing for any of my, in this case, a feature with its life cycle can drive prioritization. Here's my WSGIF based on the calculations. And if I wanted to have my own business drivers to have a prioritization score separate from WSGIF, I can do that. But you can see here that the rest of the data set for my feature is being shown. How many stories? When am I going to be delivering the feature? What sprints is it part of? What percent am I done with it? You'll note that we do have financials and resource plan at the feature level that can derive the calculations based on the work and the rates. I'll go there in a second, but that's what's actually populating these sections here. We get into effort in terms of hours, feature health, trend. If we are, I mentioned the status report as one of the main features as a snapshotting mechanism for OnePlan. So you can have trending indicators if you're actually using that capability, and that would actually be part of the status report here. So if you're actually snapshotting this, then this data becomes part of or can be used for trending analysis. But back to, as I said in the beginning, the strength of OnePlan is really focusing on resources and financials. So in terms of resources, this is actually bringing in the data from the work that's being done within the Agile planning tool. And so here we have, we here have it on a monthly basis, but you could do it a percent or FTE. We have the point conversion for some customers also, although that's difficult because each team would have to actually have a conversion factor of hours to points, but it can be done. In terms of financials, we're taking that defined effort and then using rate tables in order to get what our budget is. But you can also have forecasts, actuals, even benefits if you wanted to actually track metrics or revenue to be obtained from the feature. So our toolbar has a nice set of features to work with the data set in terms of doing comparisons, grouping, and also and looking at different timeframes also if you're looking beyond the year. This can also bring in data from external systems. So it's important to note, when we do our financial integrations, in some cases we'll be bringing in actuals if it's coming from a financial system. It just depends on, again, what your requirement set is. In terms of the work plan, this is where the integration occurs for the Agile planning solution. So let's see, does this one have? So here we have a series of stories that have been defined, and here you can see that this is where our integration would occur. If you had another tool, it would show up here. But essentially, we have within our backlog the Agile work that's taking place, stories and tasks that belong to the actual feature. And again, you could, if you wanted to schedule, this is interesting, if you wanted to actually schedule tasks separately, you can. So we do allow hybrid planning as part of the OnePlan work plan. Any other work type that you have, you could be showing here. So you see risk, issue, changes, key decisions. So those are also can be registered within the OnePlan work plan, and we don't have any here. So the interesting part here, I showed you a feature and how I can bring data in from my planning system in order to integrate all of that and be able to make portfolio decisions. Again, we're talking about Agile Portfolio Management. So we are trying to prioritize at a feature level. So within the feature itself, we can actually integrate. In this case, this is one that's with it using Azure DevOps, and we're mapping and bringing data into OnePlan. We could look at the data that's being integrated directly for this story. So the work gets deconstructed in the Agile planning tool. It would come back into OnePlan, so then you can do prioritization. And you can see here that we have a prioritization view. We could go using WSGIF. We could bring in our prioritization score if we wanted to also. So I'm just going to add that here so you can see how I can use different prioritization score. Just to add one more element into sort of our prioritization score. So it just happens to be that our highest scored feature has a very high prioritization score. That's great. We have one here that has a high prioritization score, but has a very low WISC shift. So we'll get into that, how we can incorporate that later. But a very easy way of bringing in data. The other concept is, these features are trying to deliver key results to our OKRs. We register them within strategy. Okay, so and I'll show you that in a second, but you can bring that in and make it part of your decision criteria to decide whether I'm going to actually make this my number one feature. So the other concept is that I showed you earlier how what we have to do is really understand the relationship of the different elements here. So this is our visualizer. This is kind of an interesting approach because we've taken our feature and we're seeing how it connects to key results that was shown on the view, and what is the objective that we're hitting. But also, in other words, if I impact weighted scoring, if I decide not to do it or to delay it, I'm going to be affecting my global sales target and growing my corporate global business. So I have to be careful not to not to impact that too much if I decide to make changes or not do it. But it also shows application, since we made the association to our enterprise architecture, and I showed you how important that was. This weighted scoring is actually affecting our CRM and is also affecting our cloud marketplace product. So be careful, because that's an impact that you're likely to have. So this is what our visualizer does. Gives you all the a visual of all the associations that one particular item has to all the other ones, and that's within. You can see here that I went through it here. So then the next step would be actually, well, let's do some scenario planning. So what if we wanted to actually select these projects, based on defined criteria. So in this case, I actually have already created some models, some scenarios. Sorry, so I have 2 scenarios here. I can create other ones, but we can see here that we're trying to stay around the $3 million target, but there is the likelihood that we're going to have shortfall. So I have 2.5 million also as a target. I can go to either one of those and see the differences also. So I'm going to compare my scenario 1, scenario 2, in order to see, okay, what was included, what was not included in those scenarios, and what's the prioritization? Is there any difference in the prioritization? So in scenario 1, our redemption is ranked number 17. In our scenario 2 is ranked number 13. And then you can see here the ones that were left out of the total set. We have 4 additional features that we decided to leave out just because there were we just didn't have enough funding. So they did not make it to the top 10. This is kind of like a scenario 2 is like a top 10 only in case of a budget shortfall. And the other concept that I could do is I could take this scenario and also bring my resource load, see where I have issues, and then try to see if I could take that project and move it or shift it in order to try to affect that change. Maybe it's this due diligence here that we need to actually, it's on hold. So maybe what we do is we just relieve the assignment, and it's no longer part. So we've actually taken it out, and now we can proceed with. Here we have another issue with purchase, but that's actually a very high, which is the one that we can do without. You could also go in and make a change to the resource within the summary resource plan. So that's something we could do. We could go to our summary resource plan and make a change, but we can see here that we have an issue in August with Ehrlich, so we would have to replace Ehrlich in either one of these two projects. It looks like it probably is going to be within purchase. Finding someone else that can actually overtake that. We recently added some, graphic charting capabilities within our modeler, to highlight exactly where the overlay is. And here we can see that developers are having a large amount of the work. And you can also, be doing groupings by business unit, role, or team, as I spoke earlier about looking at the teams specifically. So here we can see that Ehrlich, which is within the network team, is the one that's having the issues, and we would have to change that within one of those two projects that we looked at, either purchase or impact effort matrix. On the scenarios, as I said earlier, I deselected that one that was out, but I could, also resequence this in order to see the impact, and you can see that actually created more issues within the network team. But resequencing and selecting in and out in order to resolve issues is, the capability that we provide here. So it looks like we have here the power team has some issues, but it looks like it could be generic resources that haven't been assigned. And if you wanted to go back and see your data set, you just turn off your Gantt and your research. Same thing could be done with financials in terms of if you have a specific budget for the features. This came from the financial plan for every feature, and you likewise could be working in selecting, deselecting projects to or features, sorry, to impact the budget that you have. And we have some charting also that we've added, budget versus target. And also working with a time frame. If you wanted to, in this case, we've added benefits since they're so important to determining whether we're going to be meeting our KRs, our key results. They can be added, as you can see here. So that's our modeler, and a lot of interesting capability here to do what if scenarios, and then decide on what is going to be the the final scenario that that will be the execution portfolio. So encourage you to take a look through our through our trial. So I come back to my portfolio view, and here in terms of now that I'm in execution, one additional area I wanted to show is our board. So let's go and here, this is our board within portfolio. I'm only focusing on features, and I'm looking at a number of different PIs. My current one plus 2 ahead. I could make this, let me make this smaller so we can see what we have. And these you could have be focusing on one specific set in order to not to have so much data coming in from all the different teams. So here I pre-filtered some programs and my program increments and my sprints. So I could have additional work that I'm focusing on, but I'm only going to 6:30 to middle of the year. And in terms of the teams, I'm including every team. The control bar tells me what I'm looking at. So I'm looking at program increments. I I'm not using the lanes. The state is telling me the color, but you can see that you can use many of the other attributes that we have. The totals are feature points, as you can see. So these are the summary of points that are being delivered by all these features. I am focusing only on features. We will see a view later that's the Epic Lean Portfolio Kanban. If I wanted to filter, I can do that also. And then here's where the zooming in occurs, where I went, and you can see that due diligence has an issue. So I could come in and do a quick edit on it. It's on hold, and could have status information that's telling me why it's on hold. But the attributes in terms of who's executing it and the impact that it's having, would be shown here. It is in analyzing in terms of its life cycle. And if I wanted to see it's on hold, but what is it actually impacting, I can go back to my visualizer and see exactly what if it's actually connected to. And yes, it's on hold, and it's going to impact our key result for increasing our brand awareness. So, and it's also going to impact, applications that it might be feeding information out of the outcome of this, or products. So it's on hold, but it does have some impact on our entire architecture and strategy. And if we want to see actually where this came from, I'll pull us back all the way to strategy, because here is where we see increased brand awareness and the KRs that were there. So what else is with an increasing brand awareness? I know that I'm taking it different levels, but the point is that I very quickly can get to, okay, here's increasing brand awareness. There's other work. It doesn't seem like there's other work that's actually impacting it right now. So we better do something. Otherwise, this customer hub project is going to impact not meeting our objective. Do we have dependencies on it? No, there's no dependencies. So this is, I went from, again, looking at a project that was on hold to trying to get all the way to the top to the objective to see what else is impacting being able to meet that objective through its key results. So finally, all of the data resides within the OnePlan SaaS service, and we have Power BI report packs out of the box, as well as an OData connector that's available if you want to, leverage that information. But you can see here one of our Agile report packs that goes through and shows how our data within OnePlan for our epics and features is coming across. So again, very heavy emphasis on financials and resource information, and we translate that into dashboards. So you can see in this case, what are we, if we were to roll up by strategic theme, what would be the investment by strategic theme? Because we do time-phased data, you can actually get into this type of analysis, quarter by quarter variance of budget versus actual, financial summaries for all the epics and features. The resource plan data in terms of the allocation of the resources can also be shown both by generic or named resource. So you can see that we go across and can deliver status reports on the epic or the feature if needed. Backlog information also. All right, so that's our summary of our Agile Portfolio Management solution. I'm going to now go back to our presentation to close. Okay, so as I discussed, OnePlan Agile Portfolio Management, our solution can drive people, process, and tool towards lean portfolio management transformation. We believe that, again, lean portfolio management is a state that you want to end up with. How you decide to do that in terms of the framework that you leverage for delivery of Agile is really open, but really lean portfolio management is the way to go for enterprise, because it's the easiest way for a leadership team to understand the move towards enterprise Agile. You can evolve in a state-like fashion. Start with your OKRs and the lean portfolio Kanban to integrate enterprise Agile value delivery. We can accommodate your Agile transformation journey. So no matter where you're at, if you're starting or if you're all the way in, as I said, in a shift left with SAFE, we can reflect that within OnePlan. And really, it's about taking your current portfolio management approach, modifying it, and adopting practices in order to get to that end state. So again, we can provide support and advisory both from a consulting standpoint and the tooling standpoint. We've done that for customers already, and it's an exciting experience to see an organization evolve into it. You can get started today. We have our Agile Portfolio Management solution available today. You can see it within AppSource or within our website. So feel free to give it a try. It's a 7-day trial, no commitment, and then we can extend if you want to go deeper into it. If you're interested in talking more about the roadmap, prior to engaging in a business strategy workshop, we can talk about that initial roadmap of what it would take to actually undertake an initiative, a lean portfolio management initiative, Agile portfolio management initiative. So please take that into consideration if you're evaluating the initiative. Please make contact. We have additional webinars coming up. We have our trials. If you're interested in a one-on-one demo and want additional information in terms of pricing implementation, please make contact. And thank you very much for your time. My name is Jose Levy, and I look forward to seeing you in one of our additional webinars.